My name is Ralph White, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'd like to thank the group for the privilege and the opportunity to come share with you guys this morning. I'm still on my time. So we got to talk early in the morning now, huh? I'm humbled. Whenever we do a sobriety countdown, you guys have a nice sobriety countdown because sometimes if like the countdown is a couple of days away from your birthday, or you be like, damn, I don't want to stand up. I'm through with this year. I want to be the next year. I know that you are already like, I don't want to stand up for 2. I'm 3 already, So I like this countdown. It follows my birthday pretty closely. And then I'm humbled. All the people that were still standing in 40 years of recovery. 60 years of recovery in the room. 50 years of recovery in the room. And no disrespect to the 50 and no disrespect to the 60. But baby, with your 20, dude, with your 2, I came to talk to you. I came to talk to that second group that we had stand up. That group that felt like I felt. I was talking to my boys. Before I go further, let me get this part out the way. My mom did raise me right. I want to thank Steve and I want to thank Bobby for picking me up at the airport. I still don't take that for granted. I go a couple of places and I get to see AA hospitality up close and personal. I don't take it for granted. I don't take for granted what it is that we have. It trips me out. All of us are sitting here this morning, and it's Saturday morning. It's our morning. For many of us, it's the time we might be finally getting bailed out. Well, you don't get bailed on Saturday. I used to, I didn't go to jail a lot. I'm not, if you hear my story, I'm a square guy. I didn't do a lot of going to jail, but I got popped one time on some warrants on a Friday night. I'm like, damn, that's the worst because you don't get out till Monday. Nothing's going on. I was like, wow, how did I get in that story? Anyway, I want to thank Steve and I want to thank Bobby for coming and picking me up. And new friends, you may not know what you signed up for when you got up in here. You might say, oh, man, this is square. They go to breakfast on Saturday morning. They tell corny jokes. They do raffles for little corny stuff like tapes and the rest of that. But you don't know what you just signed up for. And if you're going to do Alcoholics Anonymous, put your big girl panties on and your big boy pants on. It's for grown people. Because being grown is grown every day. I didn't know what I was signing up for when I came in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. You just got a brand new family. First name, your name, last name, alcoholic. You never walk alone another day in your life, no matter where it is that you go. Everywhere I go, I got a family already. And I like being in a spot like this. You guys are a 3 legacy group. The Westside men's meeting, 3 legacy groups, strong 3 legacy group. I can already see it. And I can remember being new and coming around and they take me to a meeting and I look at the speaker and I couldn't wait to be up in front of everybody speaking. I know somebody out there is thinking, yeah, I can't wait either, and what I'm doing is the spotlight work in Alcoholics Anonymous. All eyes on me, everybody looking at me, but it's not really the real deal in this thing. I'm a guy, if I have any gifts in Alcoholics Anonymous, one of them is this. It's not earned. It's not merited. I've never had a problem going to meetings. I've always liked meetings. We're a storytelling society, and I've always liked stories. As a kid, I read books, I read comic books, I read novels, I escaped. And what better stories can you hear than the ones that you hear in our meetings, man? I've always loved going to meetings. And if you go to enough meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, then that's the first legacy. You heard this guy up at the front, if you knew, heard him say a 3 legacy group. Well, what the hell is a legacy anyway, You hear it a lot now. What's LeBron John's legacy? What's Kobe's legacy? But in Alcoholics Anonymous, we have 3 legacies, and that's the 3 parts to our program. And the first is the unity, going to meetings, fellowshipping. And this is a strong group. This group right here, this Westside men's group, I can already tell, and everybody got up here and said, I'm with the Westside. Everybody says nice, So I started going to meetings. And a curious thing happens if you go to enough meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, at least in my neck of the woods. I'm from Los Angeles, California. You'll hear them start talking about something. They'll talk about this book, and they'll talk about this program. And that's our second legacy, recovery. And after going to enough meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, I started hearing them talk about this book and talk about this recovery. And I'm a guy, I get into what I get into. I came up in the 60s, Dodgers. We're in the World Series now. But I idolized Maury Wills. I can tell you in 62 he stole 104 bases. Can tell you Tommy Davis was triple crown win. Can tell you what year Elgin Baylor was averaging triple double in the playoffs. I had baseball cards. I knew statistics. I subscribed to High Times. I'm a student of my craft. Whatever I get into. So, as a result of going to enough meetings, it dawned on me, why go to meetings of alcohol? Why be in a 12-step program and not know anything about the 12 steps? So I really got interested in that. My brother and I, my brother is 3 months older than me in recovery, and a friend of mine, strange, we saw a group of people presented at a marathon meeting, and they presented that book in a way I had never seen before. And we asked them would they do it for us, a couple of the members. And I asked my mom, I was about a year sober then, and Ron and I asked my mom if we could open up her house. We would both stand back at my mom's house. And on a Sunday morning in 1987 in November, a group of us sat around at my mom's dining room table, and we started going through the big book Alcoholics Anonymous page by page, line by line. And as a result of that, we liked it, and we did what we do when we like something. We did it again. And then some more people heard about it, and we did it again. And tomorrow morning, the Never Too Early Big Book Workshop that started with 12 people around my mother's dining room table will be celebrating 30 years next month, and about 300 people will be sitting around opening them blue books. And as a result of going through that 12-step process that's outlined in the big book Alcoholics Anonymous, I got what it is that all of us get, having had a spiritual awakening. And what do you do with a woke-up spirit? Put it in the service. And that's what I really like about this group that I'm privileged to be with now. That's the people that know the real secret. That's the ones who know the secret. The service junkies, the ones that do the work outside the spotlight. I'm standing up here and everybody's looking at me, but the ones who really know the secret, my hat is, I call them the shadow soldiers, the ones that work in the back, the ones that Kenny talked about that were here at 3 o'clock in the morning. That were here at 5 o'clock in the morning. The ones that stood at that table, like Brad, you get your shout out, the ones that stood at that table serving. They're the ones who, this is World Series. They're the ones who, in the 7th game of the World Series, they'll be the ones that'll be opening up the door, firing up the coffee pot, opening, setting out the chairs, and they'll wait for Ralph White to show up. They go in our jails, and they go in our institutions, and they go in our treatment centers, and they look for Ralph White. Super Bowl Sunday, it does not matter. And my hat is off to all of you who were standing up with more than 31 years, who kept the light on for a drunk like me. And I'm forever grateful. I'm one of the ones that I've seized this thing, man, and it's been a lifeline for me. And I'm one that, I've been doing this a couple of days, and you still won't hear me say I'm not going to share a long drunk along. I just want to share about me. Because you might get, before we leave here, hopefully you'll leave with a little information. Hopefully you might leave with a little more knowledge or experience with what this program, but when we go to the meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, the real power is not in the information that's transmitted at our meetings. The real power is in the transformation. There are transformational stories that go on in our groups. You can't appreciate where I am today if you don't know where I come from. Yeah, I'm standing up here in a suit. It ain't always been like this. I've gone to work in suits before, but these days you won't find me in the same suit the next day. You know what I'm saying? You can't appreciate what it is. So, information is cool, but don't stop telling your stories. Don't stop telling your stories. The most powerful stories in Alcoholics Anonymous, I'll see a lady like this. Oh, that's a soccer mom. And she gets up here and starts telling her, so I'll be like, ooh, I wouldn't have drank with her. You know, that's the power in alcoholics. And that's what it is that we do. And we tell our stories and we tell our stories and we tell our stories because you can't appreciate what it is. You know, somebody new that was sitting back there with the 2 days or somebody that sat down with the 6 days, standing up, looking at this cat standing up in front of the group, you know. I remember being new to Alcoholics Anonymous and they took me to a meeting and the guy was standing up in front of the group somewhat like I am tonight. And I remember thinking to myself, I know this cat ain't been where I've been. I know he ain't felt what I felt. I know he has not done what I've done. What can this lame tell me? So it's real important that I share with you this morning that the guy that's standing in front of you this morning is not the same one stumbled into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous some 31 years ago. I'm going to share with you in a general way what I used to be like, what happened, and what I'm like today, in the hopes that somebody new will be thinking like I was thinking. Man, I used to do the same things. I used to feel the same way. Or more important, I too want to have this thing. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I grew up in Watts in the 60s. Moms and pops, we were six boys, in a little 2-bedroom apartment. Moms and pops in one room, 6 boys, 3 bunk beds in the other room. Earliest memory of my old man was he was an alcoholic, and I didn't want to be like him. My father wasn't abusive, and he wasn't violent. He was an absentee drunk. And every other Friday, like clockwork, you knew he would not show up with a check. It would be a kid in the neighborhood feel like it was his duty to tell my family how my old man had performed up at the pool hall. And I feel ashamed and I feel embarrassed, and those are feelings I'm familiar with from a very early age. Pops got put out when I was 8 or 9 years old. Mom started raising 6 boys by herself. Don't know about you guys, but when I grew up, ideal family life, you took it from the TV programs of the day. And the day when I grew up, the TV programs that depicted ideal families, Father Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver, Ozzie and Harriet, My 3 Sons, Donna Reed. That wasn't jumping off at my house. When you're grown, you get something that's called perspective. And perspective works a little bit like this. You got a mom that raised 6 boys by herself. My mother was an old Southern Baptist sister. Had immigrated to Los Angeles, and she was on welfare back when we were kids. And my mom refused to settle for a lot. My mom put herself back through high school. She put herself through college. She worked 2 jobs. She took in clothes that she washed and ironed for other folk. And when you're grown, you look back on your life and say, damn, I had a hell of a mom. Look how she sacrificed to raise her boys. But when you're a kid about 9 or 10 years old and you coming home from school on a Wednesday afternoon with a couple of partners and you hit the front door and mom's is in the living room with an ironing board up and a rag on her head, you don't feel proud. You feel ashamed and embarrassed, and you stop bringing partners home from school. And if your name is Ralph, you start living in the prison I've lived in much of my life, and that's the prison of what I think you think about me. I don't know what you think about me, but I'm trapped in what I think you think about me, and I will do whatever it takes to shape and form and mold your opinion of Ralph. I'll wine you, I'll dine you, I'll woo you, I'll con you, I'll bully you, I'll manipulate you, I'll buy you. Please like me. Now, I don't particularly have to like your ass, but please like me. So I'm growing up like that, and it's a trip. My brother Ronnie is a year younger than me in life, 3 months older than me in recovery. And we literally slept in the same bed, his feet to my head, vice versa. And it's a trip coming out of the same environment and the same experience, 2 totally different perspectives. Ronnie, when you listen to him share, he talks a lot too. When you listen to Ronnie share his story, he always wanted to be somebody else, someplace else, doing something else. I, on the other hand, couldn't imagine being anybody other than me. I couldn't imagine being anybody other than a young brother growing up in Watts in the 60s. It was a changing time. It was a turbulent time, and I was going to be somebody, and I was going to do something in my community. That's why we tell our stories. People talk about everybody knows how to drink. That's not why we tell our stories. There are as many different portraits of the alcoholic as there are alcoholic. Because somebody in there might be thinking, dude should have been drinking. They didn't have no money. He grew up in Watts. I'm the kid that went to sleep on Christmas Eve with all his clothes on because I couldn't wait for Christmas Day to come. Didn't know moms only had $40 or $50 as a budget for her 6 kids, so we wasn't getting a lot. Chinese checkers, Domino's, I might get a glove. But on Christmas morning in the White House, it would be cooking, and it would be smells, and the boys would get up, and we would open up what gifts we did have, and family would come over, and we'd play in the streets, and and I couldn't imagine being anybody other than me. I have 5 brothers. I never knew a lonely moment. Baseball was my game. Me and my brothers made up the whole infield. One of my brothers played left field. Couldn't imagine that. So the reason I say that is I'm not here to report to you guys this morning that I'm an alcoholic because I'm a product of a broken home. Somebody in here grew up with both parents in the house. I'm not here to report to you that I'm an alcoholic because my daddy was an alcoholic. Somebody in here grew up with parents that never drank. I'm not here to report to you this morning that I'm an alcoholic because I'm a poor kid from the ghetto. Look around the room. You know that ain't the only reason. I'm not here to report to you this morning that I'm an alcoholic because we didn't have no money. Somebody in here grew up with a silver spoon. I'm not here to report to you this morning that I'm an alcoholic because I'm a little guy. Some big guys up in here. I'm an alcoholic for 2 reasons and 2 reasons only. 1, when I take one, I can't tell you when I'm going to stop. 2, when I sincerely don't want to put it in me and start it up again, I put it up in me and start it up again anyway. I'm bodily and mentally different. That's it. That's all. The rest is my story. My story goes a little bit like this. Every single one of you had me in your classroom. I was usually class president or student body president. I was a straight A student. I was teacher's pet. I played ball. I made all-stars. On the outside, I should have been okay. On the inside, I've always felt like if you really knew me, you wouldn't like me. Yeah, I was straight A student. Yeah, I was teacher's pet. I would have traded it all in if I could have been cool. If I just could have been cool, because in my neighborhood, it was a whole lot more currency placed on cool than on smart. Because the cats who was cool, some of you, I see you up in here, you can't hear me? I got to use my outside voice? I can. Are we back?
Yeah.
They missed the part where I gave the secret to staying sober for the rest of your life in one simple exercise. Damn, they missed it. Now we got to go through the whole big book version. Those of you who heard the secret, you don't have to listen to the rest of this, and you can go back. No, anyway. But I just want to, if I just could have been cool. Because the cats who were cool, it's some cats in here that was cool. I see you sitting up in here now. They were in the bathroom smoking cigarettes, shooting dice, taking quarters from guys like me that brought extra quarters with me. And the guys who were cool were the ones who knew how to talk to girls, and girls were a mystery to me. I don't know why it was, fellas. You guys had a handle on this manhood thing very early in life. I just didn't seem to know. 13 years old, cats would be talking about throwing down with girls already. I didn't know you guys were lying, but I would be thinking to myself, how come I don't know? 16 years old, I ain't touched nothing. Now, it took me a while to get comfortable. Telling my story in Alcoholics Anonymous, because this is the first place I ever landed where folk try to out-bottom each other. And I wanted a penitentiary story without visiting the pen to get it, but my story's my story, and I'm not willing to go get another one. I'm a shy guy, I'm square, and I'm scared of girls. I'm 16 years old, I ain't touched nothing. Now, for some of you guys, that's really old. You guys were drinking your parents' drinks at 8 or 9 years old, ain't touched nothing. I get a girlfriend at 16. Now, Ralph with a girlfriend at 16 don't mean the same thing it means for some of you cats. Ralph with a girlfriend at 16 simply means this. Ran with a crew of dudes, went with the same group of girls. One of my boys broke up with this girl, waited a little time to pass, told my other boy I want to go with her. He went and asked her, came back and told me. She said, yes, now I got a girlfriend. I had other girlfriends before, but this one actually knew she was my girlfriend, right? But I don't know what to do with her. I'm a shy guy, square, so every now and then I might carry books home for two. But this particular night, go out on a double date. Me and my girl in the back seat, older partner of mine, him and his girl in the front seat. He driving. Plastic cup of rum and coke, come to the back seat this particular night, drink that rum and coke down, went down real warm, rushed back to the top of my brain. All of a sudden, Ralph's hands started doing things they had never done. Mouth started saying things it had never said. I'd arrived. Alcohol did for me what I couldn't do for myself. Gave me the courage to do and to be and to say things I wouldn't do, be, and say without it, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous talks about me in lots of places. New friends, we have a chapter in the front of our book called The Doctor's Opinion, and there's a line in The Doctor's Opinion that jumped out at me first time I read it. Men and women like me drink essentially for the effect produced by alcohol. That's why I drink. I'm not overnight alcoholic. I understand we talk about this disease being progressive in nature. I've heard a lot of members get up to this podium and share their first experience with alcohol. And for some members, they talk about it being transcendent. It's a moment in time. They know they made a commitment. They'll be drinking for the rest of it. First time I drank, it was cool. It was all right. I didn't get pissy drunk. I didn't throw up all over myself. I didn't make a fool out of myself. I got a warm, tipsy feeling. I kissed and licked and sucked on my girl in some places I had never done before. And that's how my drinking stayed. I would drink to go out on the weekends and party. 1971, I graduated from high school. I graduated to higher education in every sense of the word. 71, I'm still just drinking on the weekends. By the end of 71, I'm drinking not only the night of the weekend, but I'm drinking during the day to get ready for the party that night. By 1972, I'm drinking not only on the weekends, but now I'm drinking during the week after class, and I've added some non-addictive marijuana to the mix. By the end of 72, I'm drinking and I'm smoking herb and I'm selling herb. By 1973, I'm drinking, I'm smoking herb, I'm selling herb, I'm doing other drugs, I'm doing it on a daily basis, and you could not have told me it was anything wrong with the way I was living. Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous talks about at a certain point in my drinking career, I won't be able to tell the truth from the false. And the way that worked for me is this. Isn't the way that I'm doing it, isn't that the way everybody does it? Why would you be young, with a bright future, with a little bit of money, didn't chase some women and getting loaded come with the territory? In those days, man, if you came over my house and I couldn't offer you something to drink or something to smoke, I wasn't being a good host. And if I went over your house and you didn't do the same for me, not only weren't you being a good host, wasn't coming over your house no more. For what? Now, nothing to talk about. No disrespect to our young friends. I don't mean new friends, young friends. I'm glad I grew up when I grew up. I'm glad I came up in the era I came up. Late 60s, early 70s, it was a changing time in this country. It was a turbulent time. A lot of stuff was going on. But in some ways, it was a simpler time, man. Back then, you go to a concert, you don't even have to know your neighbor. You pass and so, in 2017, you got to practice safe sex because they are deadly sexually transmitted disease. Man, back in those days, I'd go to a club, I'd have a one-question interview for a girl. You get high? If not, next. I don't want to know your last name. I don't want to know your sign. I don't need to know who your mom is. Are you getting loaded the way that I'm getting loaded? Let's get to the basis of this relationship. And that's just the way that it was. Let me go over here for a minute, then I'm going to come back. I'm at the front end of my drinking. I'm at this major university, but I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. I know for some of the people who stood up in that second group as new friends, I know we got newcomers and used newcomers, because I was a used newcomer for a long time. I came 4 times before I came to stay. In my early efforts, there are some thin lines in Alcoholics Anonymous. And some of the thinnest of lines make most of the difference. And one of the thinnest of lines that makes all of the difference, there's a thin line between comparing and identifying. In my early efforts at doing this thing, I would always compare and I would never identify. And I couldn't find myself in the Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous, and I couldn't find myself in any of you guys' stories. I would go to a meeting, I read the Big Book Alcoholics Anonymous, and I read Bill's story. First thing I say, Bill is an older white guy. We don't have that in common. Bill was a Wall Street stockbroker. Check out the way I handle money. Bill was a veteran of foreign wars. Vietnam era draft dodger. You read Bill's story, he had a line in there, there had been no real infidelity. Miss me on that one too. So I would always find all the differences. I do the same thing when you guys got up here and shared your stories. And when I came back to Alcoholics Anonymous to stay, somebody taught me how to read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they said, Ralph, the same way that you read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous is the same way you listen to our members share their experience, strength, and hope at the meetings. When you read the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and when you listen to our members share their stories, ask yourself 3 or 4 questions. Ask yourself, did I drink like he drank? Did I think like he thought? Did I feel like he felt? Or did I do what he did? And when I read Bill's story in the light of those questions, I found my story. I'm at this major university University. And just like Bill, the drive for success was on. I proved to the world I was important. Just like him, drink started taking a more important and exhilarating part in my life. You know, Bill said something strange in his story. He said out of this alloy of drink and speculation, out of this combination of his thinking and his drinking, he would later forge a weapon that would turn on him like a boomerang and all but cut him to ribbons. I don't talk like that. You know, where I come from, they just, old folk used to have a shortcut version. They just used to say, trouble always starts out like fun. And you couldn't have told me when I was in the dorms, you couldn't have told me when I'm drinking that Spinata. You know what youngsters drink, that Tyrolia, that Annie Green Springs, that Boone's Farm, that Yago, that Red Mountain, that Hannah. Now I'm going to the Corvette. You couldn't have told me alcohol was going to have its way with your boy, but it did what it is that it does. And I stumbled up out of that school and I started working as a counselor for LA City schools. And even though I had the kind of job that should have allowed me to acquire what normal people acquire, I never did that. Snapshot of Ralph's life, this is when alcohol was working. I used to buy a car, make exactly 3 car payments, then come find it. Come find it. First time I had a car repossessed, I had the nerve to call LAPD. I'm 9 months behind on the note, right? Next 2 times, I didn't even trip. I already knew. I'm the kind of brother that never had a problem balancing a bank book. Payday, I got money. 2 days later, broke. 0. No problem balancing my bank book. Lived in a career from 1976 to 1979 without paying rent. A couple of baffling features about the disease I suffer from. One of them is this. I can't see my relationship with alcohol until I'm free of it. I can't see what it's doing to me when I'm in the mix. So some of the things that are crystal clear to me now, looking back in the rearview mirror of experience, were not at all clear to me when I was going through them. One fact stands out real clear to me about the days I thought it was working. I used to go to work for 2 weeks to live for 2 days. That's it. That's all. Can't tell you the day or the time of the hour. Can't tell you where I was or what I was doing. You guys are getting ready to miss the secret again. We back? We're back. When alcohol ceased to be a luxury for me and became a necessity, but I can tell you that it did happen. Anybody else in here play the regret game in Alcoholics Anonymous? You play it, huh? The regret game in Alcoholics Anonymous goes something like this. If I only knew then what I know now, I never would have. Yeah, right. Reminds me of a story I like to tell. A story about a little boy named Johnny. Johnny had a habit his father frowned on. Johnny used to like to play with himself. Father goes to work, comes home real early this particular day. Little Johnny's bedroom door is closed. Father opens the door without knocking. Sure enough, little Johnny's in the bedroom masturbating. Father says, son, I thought I told you if you keep doing that, you'll go blind. Johnny stopped and looked at his daddy and said, well, Daddy, can I just do it till I need glasses? I like that story because that story reminds me of me in the life. I see you going down, I'm just going to do it till I need. Book talks about seeking the Lord companion wasn't long before I became the Lord companion, and we ain't got enough time. Got married on a Saturday afternoon in April in 1980. Had a bachelor party the night before my wedding. None of the guys at the bachelor party are getting married the next day. They got sense enough to go home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm still at my bachelor till 7:30 in the morning, right? Me and my brothers. Take me home at 7:30, pour me in bed, get me up at 10 o'clock for my 1 o'clock wedding. I'm tore up. I'm supposed to say my own vows at this wedding, right? They get me up, they get me to the wedding, and apparently the stagger I came in with was so severe that my then wife-to-be took one look at me staggering, and she looked at the preacher, and she said, okay, scratch their own vows, say the regular on him, right? So we get into the ceremony, it gets to me, I get ready to say, and threw up all over. Passed out. Have not taken a wedding picture to this day. Pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. New friends, if you're anything like me, when I first hit the rooms, Although the words you guys use in the rooms were not unfamiliar to me, the way you guys use them is not the way I use them in my everyday walk around vocabulary. You were talking about this psychic change, this phenomena of craving and this allergy of the body. And all those I needed some help with. But the first time I heard pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization, didn't need no help with that one. Folk like us don't need a dictionary for pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization. I lived pitiful, incomprehensible demoralization up close and personal, and I lived it over and over and over again. See, I'm the kind of father and I'm the kind of husband. Remember sitting on my living room couch, wife coming out the bathroom real fast, pulling her pants up. Go to the dining room table, pick her purse up off the table, clutch it real close. She went back to the bathroom. I feel this tall because nobody was in the house but me and her. But it got like that in my house. I'm the kind of father and I'm the kind of husband. Remember coming home, sticking my key in the door. Wife and 2-year-old daughter sitting here and they both crying. I look over here and homeboy sitting in my seat. He's got a gun pointed at my stomach talking about, I want my money right now. Fellas, let me holler at you guys for just a minute. I don't know about the rest of you. But I always had a lot of fears and a lot of doubts about, do I have what it takes to be a father? Do I have what it takes to be a husband? Because if you're in the life, your track record already gives you your answer, right? Because what's the father's role and what's the husband's role? To protect and to provide, and it's a cold-blooded feeling, fellas. Laying in bed with a woman night after night after night after night, knowing not only aren't you providing, knowing not only aren't you protecting, you're the one bringing the wolf to the door. See, I'm the kind of father and I'm the kind of husband. Remember sitting on my back porch, 2-year-old daughter coming outside, pulling at my coat. Daddy, daddy, that's my piggy bank. I remember stopping and giving her a little grin. Don't worry, baby. Daddy's going to put some dollar bills in here for this change. And I wasn't raised to be stealing from my daughter. I wasn't raised to be stealing from my wife. I was an alcoholic with no tools of recovery, and I did what it took to get what I needed to get. I've shared with you that my disease is progressive in nature, and in my experience, it's progressive in a couple of areas. Shared one already. It takes more than it used to take in order for me to get the same effect. But my disease is progressive in another area, my behavior. My behavior gets progressively worse. I'm willing to do more readily, chase this thing. First time I hit my wife's purse, if you had hooked me up to a polygraph, I would have passed when I told you I'm not stealing this $40. I'm gonna take this 40 and replace it before she knows it's missing. Went out, spent that money up, came back looking for the purse. She had moved it. I didn't look for the purse. I couldn't believe I had hit it like that. And I said to myself, I'm gonna replace this money before she knows it's missing. It's amazing to me every now and then when I think about it. When Kenny was up here and he was announcing, guys were here at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning. And I imagine of that group of guys that were here at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, somewhere in that number, probably less than 2 years ago, some of them were up at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning and they wasn't being of service. What happened? What happened? In 1934, I like to think about what holds us together right now. In December of 34, and most of you probably know the history, there's a gentleman that found himself in a hospital for the third time, same hospital, same doctor. And he was in such severe condition that when he went in the hospital this time, the doctor told his old lady, get a black dress, Lois. Dude is not looking too well. And something happened that December in 1934. And Bill Wilson he had an experience that was so profound it scared him. He said to the doctor the next day when he recounted the experience, am I going crazy? Here's the deal. Check this out. From the outside, looking in, and the doctor had dealt with this dude before, knew the game, knew the manipulation, knew all that, but something so powerful was taking place. From the outside looking in, the doctor told him, dude, I don't know what it is that happened to you, but you would look good holding on to it. And he left Towns Hospital that December in 1934. And he set about looking for people like me and you. Went about 6 months. Couldn't find nobody. He preaching. You got to have this white light experience. Everybody, man, miss me with that. But he stayed sober. And in that period of time, some of his boys he used to do business with put together a business opportunity. And they said, we want you to represent us out of town. And he traveled to Akron, Ohio. And his business didn't come off too well. And he found himself in a hotel lobby on a Saturday afternoon. And in that hotel lobby that Saturday afternoon, he got thirsty. He could see the bar from the lobby. Could hear the ice clinking in the glasses. And a thought came to him. Strange thought. I've never had a thought like that. I've had a similar thought, but not for the reason he did. He said, I need to find a drunk. I've had that thought. Not to drink. I never had that thought. What a thought. He said, I need to find a drunk not to drink. He didn't have a meeting. He didn't have a sponsor. He didn't have an inventory. He didn't have a home group. He didn't have any of that. He said, but he was thirsty. And he said, I need to find a drunk not to drink. And through a series of divine coincidences, he got put in touch with a lady who had a husband like us. And Bill Wilson talked to Ann Smith and said, I understand you got a husband with a drinking problem. I'd like to meet with him. Dr. Bob was passed out. He said, tell dude I'll meet with him tomorrow and I'll give him 15 minutes. Those two gentlemen met the next day, and that 15 minutes turned into about 5 hours. And they set about looking for people like me and you. And in 2 years' time, they had found about 40 people staying sober. Imagine that. About 40 people staying sober. And I like to think that New York hustler must have looked at the Akron physician and said to him, how we going to let Ralph White know when it's his turn? And they said, we'll put it in a book. And they put me in that book. It blows me away. Every time I think about it, I get you. That book, they started writing it in 1937. It was published in 1939. I didn't hit this earth until some years later than that. And I didn't hit you guys until some years. And they put me in that book. 2 weeks after I said I'm going to replace this money before she knows it's missing, same scenario presents. I go out, I spend up all my money. I come back looking for the purse. And next time I said to myself, instead of taking 40, this time I'll take all the money out the purse, and not that I don't spend up, I'll sneak it back in the purse. We don't know why, but the alcoholic could be unable to recall with sufficient force. Pain, suffering, humiliation, weeks, even days ago. Didn't even come to mind. And I'm often running to hit my wife's purse on a regular. I did it one too many times, came home one morning, screen door was locked with a note on it. The rest of your stuff is at your mama's house, suitcase on the porch, put out my house, I'm now my daddy. Over the course of the next year, my 5 brothers got put out their respective homes. All of us ended up in my mom's house when we damn near killed her. When I got put out my mom's house to stay at when I got put out my house to go stay at my mom's house, my ex-wife thought it was something salvageable about this piece of man she married. And she wanted me to keep a father-daughter relationship. And she would bring my daughter over on Saturday afternoons. And I wanted to be a father to my little girl with everything in me. I really, really, really did. I wanted to take her to Disneyland, and I wanted to take her to Magic Mountain. I wanted to take her to a movie on a Saturday afternoon. I wanted to walk up the street with her little hand in my big hand, take her to the store and buy her some ice cream. I wanted to sit her in my lap and read stories to her. I wanted to tuck her in bed at night and get a good night kiss. I wanted to get the look from my little girl that I've seen men in the fellowship get. The look like, this is my daddy and this is my hero. And the best I could do on those Saturdays was 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Tell my mom something like, I'm going to the store to buy Rain some ice cream. I'd disappear. I'd sneak back around on Sunday mornings when her mom was coming to get her. I can still remember sticking my head around the side of my mom's house, some of them long Sundays, tears flowing. And through the tears, I'd be thinking to myself, as I saw those 2 heads backing out the driveway and those 2 headlights, I'd be thinking to myself, there goes my life, backing out this driveway. And I've heard a lot of people share they were scared of dying out there. Not my story. Never scared of dying, scared I was going to keep waking up to the same old thing. Monday, the same as Tuesday, the same as Sunday, the same as Christmas, over and over and over again. And I'm so glad God don't make misery comfortable. And on October the 11th, 1986, I got miserable enough. I got tired enough. I got directed to my 4th program of recovery. I went to the Harbor Light Center on Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. First weekend after I was in the light, they brought a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous in. And a gentleman was standing up in front of the group that October in 1986, somewhat like I am tonight. And that October in 1986, I was in a real dark place and I was in a real bad way. I was full of regret and I was full of remorse and I was full of I'll never be able to forgive myself for the things I had done and what I had become. It's a trip. I'm what's described in that big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, as the real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Our stories disclosed in a general way, so it's a real general deal that I'm telling you. But up until 1985, as my alcoholism was growing, I was also growing in the workplace. And I had risen to this position of management at my company. I was working in the law department of a major utility company, and I was supervising about 80 people. I was in a salary position. I had finally got my dream job, but I'm the kind of guy that would be coming in, real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And the thing about the disease I suffer from, because I'm a business guy by day, but I'm a vampire by night. And the disease that I suffer from, the vampire always outgrows the businessman. The vampire always outgrows the soccer mom. The vampire always outgrows the PTA president. The vampire always outgrows the lawyer. So the vampire started going to work. And they don't pay the vampire to come to work. And the vampire don't work at work, and so one day they called the vampire in and said, dude, you got to go, take dude with you. I'm out of my dream job, and guys like me don't get second chances. So in 86, that October, I was full of remorse and I was full of regret. I'll never be able to forgive myself for the things I'd done and what I'd become. Took me to a meeting they brought that meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous into the facility. And a gentleman was standing up in front of the group that Saturday night, somewhat like I am this morning. He was dressed pretty nice. His hair was combed. His eyes were bright. He was stringing sentences together real well. And I remember, and he was sharing, dude was sharing about taking from the family, and he was sharing about taking from the job. And I remember looking at him and thinking to myself, yeah, you sharing about doing scandalous things, but you look scandalous. You should have been doing that. I'm different. Y'all ain't going to hear my business. And the speaker seemed like he knew I was in the room. He dropped something on me like this. He said, if you're sitting in this room right now, you are not responsible for your disease, but you are responsible for your recovery. And you have just tapped into a power greater than yourself, and you don't have to drink and you don't have to use no matter what, provided you are willing to fulfill some conditions. That speaker that night caught my attention. He went on to say, this is the only club you can be a member of, where the worse off you are when you get here, the better off your chances of staying. And I got the message of hope from the first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous they took me to. He described to me what I suffer from. He did it in a strange way. I had never seen anything like it. I still never see anything like it. Dude was talking about me, talking about himself. It's what we do. It's our charge. It's our man. It's what we do in Alcoholics Anonymous. And I learned some anatomical facts about a guy named Ralph in 1986. I learned that when my ass is raw, my ears open and my mouth closes. When my behind starts healing, my mouth starts running and my ears start closing. Thank God I was tenderized well enough that this time I heard the music of Alcoholics Anonymous. I was sitting in the meeting. It seemed like dude was talking directly to me. He said it's something physically different about me, and seemed like he invited me to diagnose myself. Ralph, don't take my word for it. How many times did you say I'm just going to spend 20? What happened? Whole paycheck. How many times did you say I'm going to just stop off over here at my boy Steve's? What happened? Whole paycheck. How many times did you say, oh, I'm going to just go to happy hour for me? What happened? Whole paycheck. Ralph, did it happen once? Did it happen twice? Every 2 weeks from 1979 to 1985, whole paycheck. My experience, not yours, not the oldest old timers, not my sponsors. My experience abundantly confirms for me when I take one of anything, no matter where I have to go, what I have to do, who I have to see, no matter how great the wish or the necessity, my body takes over and I have to have another. Okay, smart guy, if it's just my body, how do you explain stone sober? My car seemed to drive to the LIQ on payday. Second part of this disease, the obsession that somehow, someday, I will be able to control and enjoy this magic potion I discovered all those many years ago. Somebody help me with that. Where's this control and enjoy coming from anyway? Check this out. Anytime I was controlling, I wasn't enjoying. Anytime I was enjoying, I damn sure wasn't controlling. Why am I stuck on control and enjoy? I can't drink because of my body. I can't not because my mind refuses to accept that fact. I'm powerless. Third part of this disease, spiritual malady. 12 and 12 describes it as a soul sickness. And in the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, Ralph, if you work on the spiritual, the mental, and physical or straighten out, that's what we do. Don't get scared. Somebody's face fell. Damn. Speaker kind of had me. I was cool, but now we getting to this part. You getting ready to drop the G word on me? I'm not feeling it. I did not come here for that. I didn't come. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, with your 31 years at the podium, that God word just slides out of your mouth. You don't understand me. Check this out. I did not come up in here walking toward the light. I came up in here running from the fire. And if your ass is on fire, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Because that's what it is we really do. What this program is really about is about obtaining and maintaining access to a source of power that can do for me what I can't do for myself. What this program is really about is about obtaining and maintaining access to a source of power that can do anything but fail. What this program is really about, you want to see the face of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, these days everybody wants to see it, it's visual. You want to take a selfie right now, Alcoholics Anonymous? Take a look around this room right now. What this program is really about is about taking people like us, drunks and boosters and convicts and con artists and failures as parents and failures as kids, broken down pieces of men and women who don't have dreams and goals and hopes anymore. This program takes people like us and it sticks us together in one room, and I stick one hand in your hand and another hand in God's hand, and we pick up our beds and we walk as out of these rooms as mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, sons, daughters, employees, employers, role models in our community. This program is about growth. This program is about change. If it's going to be any changes made in my life, it begins and it ends with me. You know, I'm one of these guys. When you get me out here, you get all of me. I'm not one that stands at the podium and say, oh, if anything I say, if it's not out of the big book Alcoholics Anonymous, then you're going to get me as I am. I try to minimize my opinions, but that's my opinion. You know, so I hear people always say, I'm not going to share opinion. That's your opinion. I'm listening to it. But anyway, so some of the things I'm going to share with you are not out of the big book Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's out of the big book of Ralph White's experience. You know, I was with a guy, Tom I, and I was on a panel with him some years ago, and Tom at the time had 56 years of recovery. And one of the questions came to Tom on the Q&A. And they said, Tom, what's the most important thing you found in your 56 years? And he didn't say conscious contact. He didn't say anything flowery. He didn't say anything spiritual. He said one word. He said enthusiasm. He said enthusiasm. All you sponsors out there, all you steppers out there, all of us that work with people, God damn it, if it's supposed to be a program of attraction, make it attractive. Be up here, there ain't no easy or soft way. No, if this wasn't easy or soft way, you'd have another speaker up here. You know, I'm dead serious about recovery, but I'm seldom serious in recovery. If you ain't laughing in this program, you ain't taking this program serious enough. You know what I'm saying? You know, let me tell you, new friends, I'm going to give you something, and this is out of the big book of Ralph White's experience. This ain't out of the big book Alcoholics Anonymous. Here are some things to put in your simple kit of spiritual tools. First thing you want to do, get a sobriety date. If you don't have one, you ain't got one. Somebody walk up to you and say, what's your sobriety? You say, probably ain't got one. Get a sobriety date. Cherish it. Nurture it. Protect it. Grow it. Sobriety day. Then get a home group. A home group is something like a Cheers bar, somewhere you go where everybody know your name. Then get a sponsor. These days, sometimes I think we put a lot of interviewing requirements on a new person. Get a sponsor who has a sponsor who has working. Get a sponsor. And I'm not making light of sponsorship. I'm not making light of sponsorship. But when I say get a sponsor, there's power in that transaction. There's power in that conversation. Dudes, because we know you when you come up in here. I'm a grown-ass man. Can't nobody tell me nothing. We know that's why you up in here with us. There's power in the conversation of help me. There's power in I don't know. So get a sponsor. Get a sponsor. Then get a road dog. Road dog is different than your sponsor. You know, your road dog, because you ain't going to be hanging with your sponsor particularly. As the years go, that changes. But a lot of times, you know, and plus you coming with your sponsor, we know you when you knew. Try to come correct. No, sir, I'm not looking at girls at the meeting, you know. But with your road dog, with your dog, you'd be like, man, did you see them honeys at that meeting? We're going back to that meeting, you know. And that's who you talk about your sponsor to, your road dog. So get a road dog, man. Make this thing fun. My brother Ron, that I told you, he came in 3 months before me. My boy Strange, we've been doing the damn thing. 31 years later, we're still doing the damn thing. You know, it makes it because this thing is fun. You know, and I am so grateful for the life you guys have been giving me. So, we got a broad third tradition. You know, it's all encompassing, our third tradition. You know, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. All the people that stood up this morning, this new and the rest of that, everybody has stood up on the team. All I got to do, desire to stop. I'm on the team. That's a wonderful thing. Can't nobody put you off. Nobody tell you nothing. That's the only requirement for membership. Desire to stop drinking. On the team. Check this out. Everybody that's on the team ain't in the game. Put me in the game. Put me in the goddamn game. I'm not knocking. We need bench warmers. We need subs. We need spectators. We even need haters. We even need commentators on the game who believe that puts them in the game. But put me in the game. What you talking about, Mr. Speaker? What do you mean, put me in the goddamn game? And if you're ready to and see, unlike an athletic event, you don't have to wait for the coach to put you in this game. You decide. It's about, I'm in. On October 11th, 1980, I'm in. I got on my knees with a group of men and women. And I said, God, I offer myself, do something with me. Do something with me. I want to be in. Put me in the game. And so some of the used newcomers that's been doing that hokey pokey, put your right foot in and take your right foot out, stay here, get in the goddamn game. And so I got off my knees, and the thing I like the most about that third step prayer, and the thing I like the most about getting in this game in Alcoholics Anonymous, if I'm at that time, I'm about 16 months sober. I'm still staying at my mom's house. I don't have a job. I am not a vision for you. If I had walked up to any woman, up in here and said, baby, I offer myself to you, you'd have been like, dude, keep it moving. But when I got on my knees to this power and said, God, I offer myself to you, still doing all the things, he took me just like that. He took me just like that. And he did something with me. He did something with me. You talk about put me in. God damn it. I got a 34-year-old daughter. She's a practicing attorney in the state of California. She was 2.5 years old when I got to you guys. She was the one whose piggy bank I was going in. 3 years ago, she walked down the aisle, took another man's hand. And as we were walking down the aisle and the music was playing, and she wasn't accompanied by an uncle or a play daddy or stepdaddy, you put me in. And as the music was playing and she was on my arm and she's shaking and she said, Dad, this is the happiest day of my life. I'm sad about one thing. I said, what's that, baby? She said, this is the last day I'll ever be Rain White, but I'll always be Daddy's girl. Put me in the goddamn game. I got a 22-year-old daughter at home. She's back at home. May, she graduated from Boston University. We rolled down there about 15 strong. I'm cheering for my baby. I'm out there. Never seen her daddy loaded one day at a time. She never will. When she went to her sophomore year and she moved out of the dorms, we were moving people in and she moved in her first crib. She had 2 roommates and the other parents were moving the kids in, and I'm moving and people in this room know what I'm talking about. When grace comes calling and you recognize it and you know it by name. And I'm standing there and I had to take a bathroom break. I had to go to the bathroom. And I'm not a crime man, but I'm a crime man. I'm crying in the bathroom because it's just hitting me. This is what dads do. They don't go in the piggy bank. They move their girls into their first crib. They teach them how to drive. Put me in the goddamn game. Put me in the goddamn game. I'm the kind of guy, I can't even do strip clubs because I don't do looking. I got to participate. Put me in. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not going to come to Alcoholics Anonymous and look at you taking steps and think I'm going to end up recovered. Put me in. And once you get in the game, we got a playbook. And man, 20 years sober, 22 years sober. As a result of being in the game. And see, what's scary about being in the game is that Michael Jordan, generally recognized as the greatest basketball player ever. If I started my team, I'd start with Magic. I'm from L.A. But Michael Jordan generally recognized. And Jordan didn't make more. He missed more than he made. But he in the game. That's what's scary. But so what? Put me in the goddamn game. 22 years sober. I thought I needed a recovery home for old time. It was my third major valley in recovery. I lost a 20-year marriage in front of everybody. Lost all my money. Lost my house in front of everybody. I'm thinking, in front of the whole fellowship. And I learned some valuable lessons in that valley. And I walked through that valley for 3 years. I'm never one to diminish or minimize any part of our program. You'll never hear Ralph White say meetings don't keep you. So during that 3 years, some days I had gone into real estate. I had left my profession. I work in the law. I had gone into real estate. I didn't have a deal for 3 years. Some days I would get up and all I had on my resume at the end of the evening was I went to a meeting. I went to a meeting. I learned you can grow in the valley. I learned you grow where you plant it. My sponsor always says sometimes you're going to have to be the message you carry. And if the message you carry is that God can handle anything, sometimes you're just going to need something for him to handle. And what makes us most useful, what makes us most valuable is our experience. It's our experience. Ain't nobody interested in how much money, it's our experience. Experiences in the valley. And if I'm always sharing with my God, your stuff ain't what make you, well, I didn't learn that until I lost my stuff. And it came home to me. And I learned. And this fellowship carried me. Didn't lose a sponsor. Didn't miss a day laughing. And my sponsor would, is it all right? Right. Somebody is in a dark place right now. Is it all right? Right now. Not next week, not next month. While this long-winded speaker is up here, is it all right now? And God didn't save me from that cesspool to let me drown in the bathtub. And I kept walking. I was in O'Hare Airport. I was going to talk of the deal on the third step, right? And I called my college roommate. I had heard his father died. I was calling to offer him condolences. And when we in the conversation, something odd started happening to me because my friend still had all his property, still had all his money. He had moved his daughter into a guest house because she had just got divorced. And every time he was talking to me about successes, it was cutting me like a knife. I hadn't felt that in a long time. I had not felt that kind of envy. I had not felt that kind of resentment. And I got off the phone in O'Hare Airport and I'm crying in the airport. I'm in a real low spot. You know how sometimes some of the veterans in the AA understand this. I'm not even trying to see one of you walk across and tell me this too shall pass. Really? Really? Sometimes you just get to that place. And there are, how sometimes you don't have no cell coverage when you hit a bad area? Sometimes you don't have no grace reception. Sometimes it feel like I can't talk to God. Sometimes it feel like I don't even want to. Too much resentment, no reception. Too much anger, no reception. Too much jealousy, no reception. So I'm no grace reception. I'm cut off, but I got trained feet. In Alcoholics Anonymous, that's what we do. Train your feet. Disease centers in my thinking. Recovery in my feet. Train your feet. And I have trained feet. No matter what it is that I'm going through, I call somebody. Can't call God. Can't pray. Ain't trying to. Don't want to. Miss me. Feel like wallowing for a minute. Too much self-pity. Dead zone. But I call somebody. I'm going to give you this one. When you go to the dead zone, as you will, I'm going to give you a freebie. When you go to that zone, but train your feet. Here's a freebie. I didn't reach my sponsor. I called one of my boys. I have a group of closed mouth friends. That's what I like about this man. I can already tell that's the kind of group you guys have. A group of closed mouth friends. I called one of my boys, Stan J. I'm crying in O'Hare Airport. Here's what happens. It'll happen for you. While we're on the phone, he three-wayed me. God got on the line. Whenever it's two or more of us he'll get on the line. That's why we don't do this by ourselves. He'll get on the line. Look at how many of us are together, right? He's on the line. He's on the line. I don't care what you're going through. He will get on the line. And I made it through that. And I have an experience of my own. Growth in the valley. Don't care what you face with. Now it's an experience. God got something for you to do. If you get in that experience, he got something for you to do. Having experience is fine. It's getting experience that hurts so much. Somebody in here just getting experience. You know how they say God won't give you more than you can handle? That's true, but life will. That's why you better have God. I get grateful still. to this day. You guys have people come out here every year, and what you really task us with, and when you go out and talk, what you really get tasked with is an impossibility. You ask us to do something we really are not equipped to do. You ask us to come out and give voice to something for which there are no words. You ask us to give voice to the spiritual. So what we do, my friend Strange always talks about, you can't describe the taste of a banana. And the spiritual experience, that experience of being one of us. I got my first grandson, biological. There's people in here that know about that, where we come from. Whew. If I knew grandkids were so cool, I'd have had them first. You know what I mean? Can't describe it. You got to have it. My friend Strange always talks about you can't describe the taste of a banana. Can't describe this journey. You know, we do a lot of talking about God, but you don't really hear us in here describe. It's for yourself. It's for, so what we do, what we attempt to do as best we can, because that's all we have. We arm with our currency of communication is words. That's all we have. We do the best we can with it. And really, when you think about it, the best we can do is each one of us in our own words and as best we can. We describe how that banana tastes, and we try to make it seem so delicious and so tantalizing you want to get your own banana. New friends, you want to get your own banana. You want to have your own experience. You want to get your own. And I've always wanted to do and be somebody important. I've always wanted to have something important that I've done and some legacy I've left, you know. And I can think of nothing more important than being a participating member of the life-saving, life-changing experience that is Alcoholics Anonymous. How many people in here sponsor? One of it, so a lot of those hands know the greatest joy that we get in this program sometimes. And you don't have to sponsor. Just being a member, just being a member of a group, just being in a home group, seeing a new guy or seeing a new lady come in, seeing them like this and seeing them bloom, seeing them come to life, seeing the lights come on, seeing them dress up and seeing them clean up, seeing them show up. You know, that is huge. But there are some other lights that come on that we don't get to see in the meetings. And I like to think about them every now and then. Every time I go to a meeting, I get to participate in some little boy or some little girl getting ready to have mama come back. Me and you. Every time I go to a meeting, we're doing it right now. I get to participate in some family getting ready to have daddy come home. Me and you, we're doing it right now. Every time I go to a meeting, I get to participate in some man or some woman getting ready to have a hell of a mate in their life. Me and you, doing it right now. Every time I go to a meeting, I get to participate in some employer that I could care less about and don't even know, getting ready to have a hell of an employee into the workplace. Every time I go to a meeting, who wouldn't want to be part of a fellowship like that? You'll never hear Ralph White say, I don't know why I'm sober. I know exactly why I'm sober. I get a blessing so that I can be a blessing. Recovery for me is a gift from God. What I do with my recovery, that's my gift to God. My name is Ralph White. I am an alcoholic.